Hello, I'm Scott, and this is Ready Aim Roll. Uh, in the UK, at least, it is Easter weekend coming up. So tomorrow through to Monday is a long weekend for us. And for a lot of people, this is the first sort of holiday of the year after Christmas. And given that it's warming up, people like to go on holiday camping, whether that's camping in a small caravan or in a tent or anywhere in between. England being England, probably not under the stars, at least not without some sort of cover on you. But I thought it would be a good idea to count down some of my favourite games to take away. Not least because I myself am heading off for a few days anyway. So here are 5 great games to take away on holiday. Before we get into it, I will politely ask that if you do enjoy this, give the video a like, maybe subscribe if you really like it. We just hit 30 subscribers, and that's awesome. So if we can maybe get to 35, 40 by the end of the year, I think 40 is a bit of a push, but I think 35 is definitely doable by the end of 2022. But anyway, enough, you know, shenanigans and plugging my own stuff. I'm going to start off with the thing that I've just been waving around for the last 30 seconds. And this game is called Happy Salmon. Very briefly, Happy Salmon is a party game. The base game is for 1 to 6 players, though that is, excuse the camera shake, that is also an expansion for it called Happy Salmon, it's still Happy Salmon, it's still called Happy Salmon, but if you look for it online, just search for Happy Salmon Blue. So this takes the player count up to 12. So if you've got a large family gathering, these 2 games will, one game, 2 products. These 2 products will serve you perfectly. So in Happy Salmon, each person takes one of these decks. And in no particular order, it's often quite fun to just do it. In fact, you're meant to do it all at once. The idea is to finish your deck by completing the actions that it says to do. So, for example, Happy Salmon. Let's see if I can do this one person. So, Happy Salmon, you slap each other's forearms like this. It's a bit silly. Great if you have, let's say, partaken in a bit of alcohol. If you are not of age, please don't do that. But yeah, that's Happy Salmon. There's also cards like High Five, which is, I'd hope, self-explanatory. Pound It is just your bog standard fist bump. And Switcheroo is switch places with the person opposite you or the person you did the action with, because the only way you're getting rid of the card is by doing an action with someone. And that's the gist of it. It's a really easy game. Something that you can easily play drunk or with younger children, and because of the materials this game is made out of, it's also good for multiple environments. The card stock is quite plasticky, so you don't have to worry about getting these cards wet. The same goes with this little bag. It's made out of like a the word escapes me. It's very similar to like wetsuits, and sort of that sort of material. So you can easily get this game wet and not have to worry about, damp cards and game components and things like that. And that also means that you can spill things on them if that happens. Which is very good, seeing as I'm going to a party this weekend where there is likely to be a good amount of alcohol. Well, I don't expect myself to be drinking too much. I say that now. If something does spill on these, I'm not going to be worried because they are made of quite good plastic. So that's Have Salmon at number 5. Number 4 is No Thanks. One of my favourite, in fact, most of the games I'm talking about now are some of my favourite tabletop games of all time. And this one is great. No Thanks is a set collection game of sorts. Card gets put out in the centre of the table, and it is then your decision whether you put one of your little black chips that you see on the cover art there onto that card with the phrase "No thanks," or you take the card that is in the middle of the table and gain that many points, with the object being, in this game, to have as few points as possible. So there's, you can often get the high point value cards coming up. Everyone's putting down chips, and if you've got no chips to spend, that card is then yours, and you are taking that probably quite high number of points. You are, however, also taking all the chips that were put down onto that card, which at the end of the game are worth minus points. So there's a bit of give and take in this game. It appears quite dry on the surface, but if you give it a couple plays, it's a mean sucker. You will be having stern looks from across the table with people if you play this game with the right group. Which is very much similar to number 3, which is a game called Skull. So this game it's a bluffing game. So in a similar vein to games like Liar's Dice, each person puts down one of their... Get one up for you. Each person gets a small hand of 4 of these interesting looking tile cards, I guess, and one of these. So on your turn, you get to choose which of these to put down. And once everyone has put one down, you go round again, except this time, at any point, a person can say, "I would like to start the bidding." At which point, you go around the table, bidding on how many of these tiles you could flip over before getting a skull. So that is the essence of it. That is the essence of Skull. Another really simple one that I could probably explain quite heavily drunk if I had to. And again, one of my favourite tabletop games of all time. I should probably do, like a weekly or monthly feature on that. I'm thinking about it. But yeah, If you do flip over a skull, be it your own or someone else's, you lose a card at random. And if you do win the bet, you flip your tile from this side to this side. And if you win another bet, you win. It's that simple. Such an easy game to play. Not least because, as you might be able to tell with the sort of card stock that these guys are using, it was originally played with beer mats and coasters. So even if you don't have the official version of this game, you could probably play it fairly easily, finding the rules online and a few coasters. Though, buy this game. It's really, really pretty. Anyway, moving on to number 2 on this list. This is a game called Coup. Now, Coup belongs to one of my favourite genres of board game, tabletop game in general, social deduction. Now, in Coup, you each start with 2 cards in front of you. These cards are your influence, and each influence card does something. So one card allows you to steal money from another player, or another card might straight up allow you to kill another person's influence card. The trick here comes in where all of these cards are face down. So at any point, you could be lying through your teeth. So, for example, I could have a assassin and a contessa. I can't remember what a contessa does, actually, off the top of my head, but that doesn't matter. But I do know a duke lets you take 3 coins from the central pot in the middle of the table. So even though I have an assassin and a contessa, I could claim, by taking 3 coins from the center of the table, to have a duke. And that is perfectly legal. However, at any point in this game, someone thinks that, for whatever reason, you don't have the card that would let you do what you're doing, someone can call you out on that. So, someone on the opposite table to me could say, Scott, I don't think you've got a duke. And if they were right, which in this example they are, I would flip over one of my cards and I would have 1 less influence. Obviously, naturally, if you lose both your influence cards, you are out of the game. But if I did have a duke, they would flip over one of their cards and be out of that 1 card. So it's, again, there's a lot of bluffing. You can see that I like bluffing in my games, even though I have a shit poker face. I just love it so much. But yeah, another of one of my favourite games of all time. It's so good. And except for this last one, all of these games are relatively easy to pack into hand luggage and backpacks and things like this. You know, they're not big games at all. You know, this one covers a little bit of room. But this one, you could easily just fold this little bastard up. Easily fits in like this will fit in your pocket. If you were extremely tight on space, just take the cards out. You don't need the packaging. As awesome as this packaging is, Exploding Kittens, if you're watching this, if anyone from Exploding Kittens is watching this, put Happy Salmon back in the fish. Do it. Do it right now. Anyway, On to number one. And as I alluded to, this is a bulky one. You can get standard Sushi Go, which in itself is fairly bulky still, because it still comes in a fairly nice tin. But if you know the exact number of people you're going to be playing with, again, like Happy Salmon, like any of these really, just take the components you know you're going to need out of this, put it in a Ziploc bag or something like that, and just take it with you. You know, you don't necessarily need the tin. But Sushi Go is a set collection game where having different things on your sushi plate gives you different points for different values. So, yeah. Having the most sushi, for example, might give you a certain amount of points. You might have a certain amount of points for having 5 onigiri or something. I don't remember exact things. I just know that this is a fun set collection game that is often quite light and quite fun. Especially if you have like a board game group that plays quite heavy games. You know, this is quite a nice starter game. So, for example, at some point this year, I'd love to get together with a bunch of friends and just play board games all weekend. That's it. So this might be a nice palate cleanser between, you know, say, Twilight Imperium and Nemesis. I don't have a copy of Twilight Imperium. If anyone's watching this and has £100 spare, I wouldn't say no. Or just a copy of Twilight Imperium. Like, that's a big, pretty game, but you know. Anyway, but yeah, Sushi Go Party and Sushi Go on its own, great games. So yeah, those are my 5 favorite games to take away with me. If you enjoyed that, as I said at the start, a like and a subscribe would be very much appreciated. And if you've got a favourite game to go travelling with, let us know. And if it's not in our collection, maybe it will be because of you. I know because of a lot of the board games media that I follow, I've bought a lot of these games on those recommendations. So just pop it in there. Maybe it's, maybe you're a madman and your favourite game to play on the beach is Crokinole. In which case, you're incredible and I love you. But you're a madman. But nonetheless, thank you ever so much for watching. And hopefully, you'll come back for the next one. Hope you have a wonderful day, whatever it is you do. I'm off to go pack. Goodbye.